We have to think about the consequences of our actions in order for our species to survive on this planet. I'm Niamh Shaw and I'm a science communicator and writer and I guess explorer of sorts. My background is I have 2 degrees in engineering and a PhD in science and a career in theatre writing, which kind of led into science communicating, combining those 2 things together. And what I'm really interested in all of that is finding new ways of sharing stories around sustainability and the idea of this circular economy. I'm particularly interested in going to unusual places that are difficult to kind of survive in, extreme environments. And I am there, I'm sort of like the unqualified explorer, joining this highly skilled team and looking around and contributing to them in a scientific way, but also then when I come home after all the videos and footage and interviews that I conduct when I'm there, what I'm really trying to do is share what it's like to be there and talk about, you know, maybe the living conditions and the lack of running water and no phone messages. We're on this beautiful planet, but because of the pace of life and all these technological demands, there are consequences to how we are dealing with that on our planet. So the whole notion around sustainability I think is really important. So how you communicate that, you have to do it in a way where people understand it and make people care. And I can see that there's this big gap. There's the people that are on it and they're flying and they know exactly what's happening, but there's a massive gap of people who didn't have necessarily a house where science was discussed every single day. And my project Town Scientist serves to kind of help those communities, those people who need to either reignite their curiosity and get their confidence back around learning, or just kind of kickstart what's already there. And we're looking at topics like sustainability and climate change and anything else that comes up for them that they're concerned about. We create a community from the ground up. Town Scientist is my labour of love. It's an initiative where I work with the community, very small groups of people, listen to them, it's conversation based, and we start at the beginning, wherever the beginning is for that particular group of people. And we talk about their matters of concern, about their learning experience or maybe areas of STEM that they're particularly concerned about. I try always to cover artificial intelligence and climate change and vaccines and COVID and things that I see are something that we need to think about. And also the idea of sustainable cities. I've had a small pilot run in 2024, which is just finished. And we begin the next phase, which is a deep dive, a 6-month intensive scientist in residency in Dundalk in 2025. Because the idea of Town Scientist is to have a trusted advisor of science from that community, in every community, initially in Ireland, but then all around the world. The idea of the sustainability is really thinking big and not just like in terms of the project objectives, but actually us as humans. We have to think about the consequences of our actions in order for our species to survive on this planet. And if we look at nature and if we look at space, everything has a beginning, middle and end. The way we consume at the moment and the way we use products, we rarely think of the end. The beginning is the demand, the middle is the production and the distribution, but the end of products has not really been thought about a lot. I was on a simulated Mars mission in Utah in the desert for just 15 days. We were pretending that we were living on Mars, which was a challenge in and of itself. But what I hadn't expected was it would really make me think about how we use the resources that we have on Earth more effectively. When you are living in an environment where water is rationed because you have to bring it with you, and food is rationed and your power is rationed, you start to think about these resources that you take for granted in a completely different way. And when I came back to Earth after that mission, I realised that the water pressure in our taps and in our toilets could be much less. So it started me thinking about we can do things a lot better, because when something is limited, you're far more imaginative about how you can be more sustainable. The great thing about Ireland is because we are a small island, we could become leaders and run a kind of a pilot study so that we have every home is sustainable in Ireland, that it doesn't need to be something that the actual individual has to invest in. We could have a government that decides to make every home in Ireland sustainable. All of the answers are there. It's just about getting enough people behind it, getting the government to really think about thinking bigger, really, and thinking as a unit and not leaving it up to a community, a town, an individual to do it for themselves. We can do it because we're small and we're agile.